Somewhere beyond the horizon, where the Atlantic sky meets endless blue waters, lies a place of whispers and wonder, a triangular region that has captured human imagination for generations, tempting us with its mysteries and challenging our understanding of the natural world. As you settle in, allow your thoughts to drift across those warm waters where countless sailors and pilots have journeyed before, some to return with strange tales, others to become part of the enduring enigma we call the Bermuda Triangle. The stars hang low tonight, much as they would if you were sailing those waters between Florida's southern tip, the island of Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, the 3 points that roughly mark this legendary expanse of ocean. The triangle encompasses more than 500,000 square miles of deep Atlantic waters, a vast realm where the ordinary sometimes seems to give way to the inexplicable, where compass needles spin without reason, and where, some say, the very laws of nature occasionally bend and blur. The waters there are not always turbulent. Often, they are as calm as your thoughts are becoming now. The surface glistens under tropical sun, turquoise near the islands, deepening to a profound blue that seems to hold the ocean's oldest secrets. Beneath, currents flow in patterns established over millennia, carrying warm water from the Caribbean into the greater Atlantic in the endless oceanic dance that helps regulate our planet's climate. This place was not always known as the Triangle. For most of human history, it was simply part of the vast Atlantic, crossed by indigenous peoples in canoes, then by European explorers in tall ships, merchant vessels heavy with cargo, and sleek naval craft. The name and the notion of something unusual came much later, emerging gradually through the 20th century as stories accumulated and patterns seemed to emerge from coincidence. The first people to navigate these waters were the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean. Taino and Carib sailors crossed portions of what we now call the Bermuda Triangle in dugout canoes, reading the stars and currents with remarkable precision. They passed down stories of strange lights seen over the water, of unexpected storms that appeared and vanished as if by some otherworldly design. These early navigators developed a deep respect for the sea's power and mystery, understanding that even familiar waters could become strange and unpredictable. When Columbus sailed into these waters in 1492, he noted something peculiar in his log. On October 11th, just before sighting land, he observed that his compass no longer pointed to true north. Instead, it shifted, indicating a direction slightly west of north. He kept this observation from his crew, fearing it might add to their growing anxiety as they sailed farther from home than any Europeans had before. This compass anomaly would later become one of the signature mysteries associated with the region. Night deepens around you as you drift further into this tale, much as darkness falls over those Atlantic waters. Imagine now that you are aboard a sailing vessel from centuries past, the wooden deck gently rising and falling beneath you. Stars wheel overhead in the vast carousel of night, and the sea whispers secrets too ancient to be understood. This is how many experienced the Triangle before it acquired its reputation, simply as a beautiful, sometimes challenging stretch of ocean that connected worlds. The Bermuda Triangle did not emerge as a concept in popular imagination until the 20th century. The term itself first appeared in print in 1964 in an article for Argosy magazine by Vincent Gaddis titled the deadly Bermuda Triangle. But the stories that would give the region its mysterious reputation began decades earlier, with a series of disappearances that defied easy explanation. Among the most famous early incidents was the vanishing of USS Cyclops in March 1918. This massive collier ship, nearly 600 feet long and carrying over 300 crew members, disappeared without sending a distress signal while traveling from Barbados to Baltimore. No wreckage was ever found, despite extensive searches. The Navy's official statement contains a line that would become synonymous with triangle disappearances. The disappearance of this ship has been one of the most baffling mysteries in the annals of the Navy, all attempts to locate her having proved unsuccessful. As you breathe slowly and deeply, let the weight of that mystery settle into your imagination. A massive steel vessel, longer than 2 football fields, vanishing without trace, taking all souls aboard into whatever fate awaited them. No storm was reported in the region. No enemy action was detected, though World War I was raging across the Atlantic. The ship and its crew simply sailed into legend, becoming part of the Triangle's growing mythology. The 1940s brought another famous disappearance, one that would cement the Triangle's reputation as a place where aircraft, too, might be swallowed without explanation. Flight 19 consisted of 5 Avenger torpedo bombers that left Fort Lauderdale, Florida on December 5, 1945, for a routine training mission. Led by Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight was to practice bombing runs and then return to base. Weather conditions were described as favorable when the 14 men aboard the 5 aircraft set out. What happened next is known primarily through increasingly confused radio transmissions. Lieutenant Taylor reported that his compasses were malfunctioning and that he could not determine his position. "I don't know where we are," he radioed to the base. "We must have got lost after that last turn." He believed they were somewhere in the Florida Keys, but the control tower suspected they had inadvertently flown northeast, out over the Atlantic. As fuel ran low, the radio exchanges became more desperate. The final transmission came at 5:17 p.m., with the flight still lost. A Martin Mariner aircraft with 13 aboard was dispatched to search for the missing planes. It, too, vanished. By morning, hundreds of vessels and aircraft were searching more than 200,000 square miles of ocean and islands. They found nothing. No oil slick, no debris, no life rafts, no bodies. 6 aircraft and 27 men had disappeared, as if they had flown beyond the boundaries of our world. The Triangle began to acquire its reputation as a place of supernatural danger, a reputation that would be amplified through books, articles, television programs, and films over subsequent decades. Each new incident seemed to add another layer to the mystery, another whisper in the growing conversation about this seemingly cursed patch of ocean. The waters of the Bermuda Triangle are some of the deepest on Earth. In some places, the seafloor plunges to depths of more than 27,000 feet, deeper than Mount Everest is tall. These abyssal plains and trenches remain some of the least explored places on our planet. More humans have walked on the moon than have visited the deepest parts of our oceans. In this profound darkness, pressure crushes with a force thousands of times greater than at the surface. Here, strange creatures adapted to eternal night and crushing pressure go about their lives, many still undiscovered by science. What happens on the surface may sometimes be influenced by what lies beneath. The seafloor in parts of the triangle features massive methane gas deposits trapped in sediments. Under certain conditions, these deposits can release bubbles of gas that rise to the surface. When massive enough, these methane releases could potentially affect buoyancy, causing ships to sink suddenly. Some scientists have proposed that such methane releases might also affect air density above the water, possibly creating conditions hazardous to aircraft. The Gulf Stream, one of the world's most powerful ocean currents, flows through the triangle, carrying warm Caribbean water northward along the eastern coast of the United States before crossing the Atlantic toward Europe. This mighty river within the sea moves at speeds up to 5.5 miles per hour, capable of swiftly carrying away evidence of shipwrecks or plane crashes. The current's interaction with other ocean movements creates complex and sometimes unpredictable conditions that can challenge even experienced sailors. Weather in the region can transform from calm to catastrophic with remarkable speed. Tropical storms that eventually become hurricanes often pass through the triangle, bringing winds powerful enough to tear apart ships and generate waves towering more than 50 feet high. Microbursts, intense downward rushes of air, can create surface winds exceeding 100 miles per hour in areas as small as 1 mile across, leaving nearby waters completely calm. An aircraft or vessel encountering such localized phenomena might be destroyed without nearby craft experiencing anything unusual. Perhaps most intriguing among the triangle's natural phenomena are the magnetic anomalies that have been reported since Columbus first noted his compass behaving strangely. The Earth's magnetic field is not uniformly distributed. Certain regions, including parts of the Bermuda Triangle, are known to have magnetic variations. While modern navigation relies less on magnetic compasses, making this phenomenon less hazardous than in earlier centuries, it adds another layer to the region's reputation for strangeness. As your mind drifts between wakefulness and deeper states of relaxation, consider the human tendency to seek patterns, to create stories that connect isolated incidents across time. The Bermuda Triangle has become a repository for our collective fascination with mystery, a place where the unexplained becomes symbolic of all that remains beyond human understanding. Yet beneath the legends lies a real place, with real natural processes and genuine historical incidents that continue to invite exploration and analysis. One of the most compelling scientific explanations for triangle incidents involves something called rogue waves. For centuries, sailors returned from voyages with tales of encountering walls of water, reaching heights of 100 feet or more. Waves that appeared suddenly, defying the prevailing sea conditions. Scientists dismissed these accounts as exaggerations until one was finally documented in 1995, when an oil platform in the North Sea recorded a 90-foot wave that appeared suddenly amid otherwise moderate conditions. These rogue waves, now recognized as genuine phenomena, form when multiple wave systems interact, combining their energy into a single, massive wave that can appear with little warning. In the Bermuda Triangle, where the Gulf Stream interacts with other currents and weather patterns, conditions may be particularly favorable for their formation. A ship struck by such a wave could be capsized or broken apart so quickly that sending a distress signal would be impossible. The region's weather patterns contribute to another potentially destructive phenomenon: waterspouts. These rotating columns of air and water mist are essentially tornadoes over water, capable of winds exceeding 100 miles per hour. They can form suddenly, especially during summer thunderstorms common to the region. Multiple waterspouts can appear simultaneously, creating hazardous conditions over large areas. Aircraft flying into such formations might face violent updrafts and downdrafts, extreme turbulence, and lightning strikes, all potentially catastrophic. Human factors, too, must be considered in any comprehensive examination of Bermuda Triangle incidents. The area has been one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world for centuries, with thousands of vessels crossing it every year. It is also heavily trafficked by aircraft, both commercial and private. Statistically, with so much traffic, accidents and disappearances would occur even without any unusual natural phenomena. The triangle's reputation may have grown partly because more incidents happen there simply due to the volume of traffic. Navigation errors have undoubtedly contributed to many disappearances. Before satellite positioning systems, vessels and aircraft relied on celestial navigation, radio bearings, or dead reckoning, all methods susceptible to human error. The confusion expressed by Lieutenant Taylor during Flight 19's final hours suggests the disorientation that can occur when navigators lose their bearings over open ocean, where horizons offer few distinguishing features. The islands scattered throughout the region present their own navigational challenges. The Bahamas archipelago consists of more than 700 islands and 2,400 cays, many of them small, uninhabited, and barely rising above sea level. A damaged aircraft attempting an emergency landing might disappear among these scattered landfalls, especially in eras before comprehensive radar coverage and satellite imagery. Pirates and other criminal activities have been part of the region's history since European colonization began. While modern piracy is rare in this part of the world, it cannot be entirely discounted when considering historical disappearances. Ships carrying valuable cargo might have been deliberately attacked, their crews eliminated to ensure no witnesses remained, their destruction made to look like an accident or mysterious disappearance. As the night deepens around you, and as these thoughts drift through your mind like clouds across the face of the moon, remember that mystery itself has value. Not every question needs an immediate answer. The Bermuda Triangle, with its blend of documented incidents, scientific phenomena, and legendary elaborations, offers a space for wonder in a world increasingly mapped and measured down to the smallest detail. The human mind seeks explanations, patterns, and meaning. This is how we have survived and thrived as a species. Yet there is also something deeply satisfying about contemplating the as yet unexplained, about acknowledging the limits of our current understanding. The triangle invites us into this contemplative space, asking us to hold multiple possibilities simultaneously, to embrace uncertainty not as something to be feared, but as an opportunity for continued exploration. Among the most intriguing modern theories about the Bermuda Triangle involves hexagonal clouds observed by satellite imagery over parts of the region. These unusual cloud formations, ranging from 20 to 50 miles across, appear to create what meteorologists call air bombs. powerful downdrafts of air that can generate sea surface winds of more than 170 miles per hour and produce waves exceeding 45 feet in height. Such conditions could overwhelm even large vessels and certainly bring down aircraft. The ocean floor within the triangle holds other potential clues. Sonar surveys have revealed unusual features, including steep underwater cliffs, deep trenches, and extensive underwater cave systems. The Bahama Banks, underwater plateaus surrounding the Bahama Islands, drop off precipitously into some of the deepest waters in the Atlantic. Ships damaged by storms or other causes might slip into these depths, where recovery would be difficult or impossible with conventional equipment. In 1989, a team led by oceanographer Meyer Verlag discovered what appeared to be extensive underwater stone structures near Bimini, prompting speculation about ancient civilizations and even connections to Atlantis. While most scientists view these formations as natural, they illustrate how the region continues to generate both scientific investigation and more speculative interpretations. The 1960s and 70s saw the Bermuda Triangle achieve its greatest prominence in popular culture, with numerous books exploring its mysteries. Charles Berlitz's 1974 bestseller, The Bermuda Triangle, sold over 20 million copies worldwide, bringing the legend to an unprecedented audience. Berlitz collected accounts of disappearances and strange phenomena, suggesting forces beyond conventional understanding might be at work in the region. Other authors proposed even more exotic explanations, including extraterrestrial activity, interdimensional portals, or technology from advanced ancient civilizations like Atlantis. These speculations found fertile ground in a period characterized by widespread interest in paranormal phenomena and alternative explanations for historical mysteries. Television documentaries, movies, and popular songs further cemented the Triangle's place in global consciousness as a zone of supernatural danger. Scientific organizations, including the United States Coast Guard and Navy, have consistently maintained that the region does not experience an unusually high number of disappearances when adjusted for the volume of traffic it handles. Lloyd's of London, the world's leading maritime insurance market, does not recognize the Bermuda Triangle as an especially hazardous zone and does not charge higher premiums for vessels traveling through it. These institutional perspectives offer a counterbalance to more sensationalized accounts. Yet the enduring power of the Bermuda Triangle as a concept speaks to something beyond statistical analysis or scientific explanation. It has become a symbol for the unknown, a geographical space that serves as metaphor for all that remains mysterious in our experience. In this sense, it belongs alongside other famous mystery zones, like the Nazca Lines of Peru, the Bermeja Island that appears on maps but cannot be found, or the ancient complex of Göbekli Tepe, which challenges our understanding of early human civilization. The waters are growing deeper now, both in our story and in your journey towards sleep. Imagine floating on the gentle swells of the Atlantic, looking up at stars scattered across the night sky like luminous dust. The same stars that guided ancient mariners, that shone down upon the Arawak and Taino peoples in their canoes, upon Columbus and his worried crew, upon the modern vessels that continue to cross these waters daily without incident. Beneath you, currents move in their ancient patterns, carrying memories of all that has passed this way. Perhaps somewhere in the depths lie answers to some of the triangle's enduring questions, the final resting places of vessels long considered lost without trace, preserved in the lightless pressure of the deep ocean. Modern technology continues to illuminate these depths, with unmanned submersibles capable of reaching trenches previously inaccessible to human exploration. In 2018, a privately funded search discovered the wreckage of USS Cyclops' sister ship, USS Nereus, which had also vanished in the Triangle during World War II. The discovery suggests that with sufficient resources and advanced technology, other famous disappearances might eventually be explained. Each such discovery gradually transforms mystery into history, replacing speculation with documentation. Yet even as science advances our understanding of the region's natural phenomena and technology helps us locate long-lost wrecks, the Bermuda Triangle retains its place in our collective imagination. Perhaps because we need mysteries, because uncertainty itself serves a purpose in human experience. Complete knowledge, even if it were possible, might leave us poorer in some essential way. The triangle reminds us that the world remains larger than our understanding of it, that beneath the surface of the familiar lie depths we have only begun to explore. It invites humility in the face of natural forces far more powerful than our human constructions and technologies. The same ocean that swallows great ships without a trace also supports all life on our planet, regulating climate, generating oxygen, providing sustenance. Its mysteries are not separate from its wonders. As you drift deeper into relaxation, consider how the Bermuda Triangle teaches us about the nature of knowledge itself, how it accumulates not in straight lines, but in patterns that sometimes double back upon themselves, how understanding often comes not from certainty, but from balancing multiple possibilities. The triangle exists in this balance, between documented incidents and legendary elaborations, between scientific explanation and unanswered questions. The name itself contains a certain mathematical precision that contrasts with the ambiguity of what occurs within its boundaries. A triangle, 3 points, 3 sides, a shape perfectly defined in Euclidean geometry. Yet this particular triangle has shifting boundaries depending on who is defining it. Some accounts place its area at 500,000 square miles, others at more than 1,500,000. It is both precisely named and imprecisely bounded, another paradox in a story filled with contradictions. Among the many disappearances attributed to the triangle, some stand out for their particularly baffling circumstances. The merchant vessel Mary Celeste, while not strictly a Bermuda Triangle incident, as it was found abandoned near the Azores, has nonetheless become associated with the region's mysteries. Discovered in December 1872, sailing under full canvas but completely abandoned, the Mary Celeste became the archetypal ghost ship. Its crew of 10 had vanished, leaving behind all personal belongings, navigational equipment intact, and 6 months' worth of food and water. The only lifeboat was missing, suggesting an orderly evacuation, but no logical reason for abandoning a seaworthy vessel was ever established. More recently, in 1948, a 4-engine Tudor IV aircraft named Star Tiger disappeared while approaching Bermuda. 25 passengers and 6 crew were lost. The pilot had radioed his position and reported that the flight was routine and on schedule. Weather conditions were favorable. Then, Silence. A massive search revealed nothing. A similar aircraft, Star Aerial, vanished in the same region just over a year later, in January 1949, again in good weather, and after reporting, all is well. These aviation disappearances occurred during what was generally considered a safe period for air travel, with aircraft that had proven reliable. The complete absence of wreckage in both cases contributed to the triangle's growing reputation. Modern aircraft are equipped with emergency locator transmitters and other technologies that make such complete disappearances less likely, though not impossible. The cruise ship SS Cotopaxi became another entry in the Triangle's catalog of mysteries when it vanished in December 1925 while carrying coal from Charleston to Havana. For nearly a century, the fate of the ship and its 32 crew members remained unknown, fueling speculation and even inspiring a mention in the popular film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In January 2020, however, marine biologists and underwater explorers identified a previously documented shipwreck off St. Augustine, Florida, as the long-lost Cotopaxi. This pattern of mystery eventually yielding to explanation has repeated itself numerous times in the Triangle's history. The yacht Connemara IV was found adrift and abandoned in 1955, adding to the region's ghostly reputation until the crew was located safely in Miami, having abandoned the vessel after it was damaged in a storm. Similarly, what appeared to be a ship vanishing without trace would later be explained by discovery of wreckage, sometimes years or decades after the disappearance. The methodical documentation of these explanations rarely receives the same public attention as the initial mysterious circumstances, contributing to the persistence of the Triangle's legendary status. Our minds tend to retain the unsolved puzzle rather than its eventual solution, especially when the mystery aligns with existing narratives about a place or phenomenon. Water is deepening around you now, much as it deepens from the shallow Bahama banks to the abyssal plains of the Atlantic. Your thoughts are slowing, becoming more diffuse, mirroring the gradual transition from the sunlit surface waters to the twilight zone beneath, where light filters down in progressively dimmer shades of blue before fading entirely. In those lightless depths, strange creatures navigate by other means, by sound, by electric fields, by chemical signatures in the water. Similarly, as you move towards sleep, your consciousness shifts from visual processing to other modes of awareness. The weight of your body against the bed, the rhythm of your breathing, the distant awareness of sounds that no longer form into distinct meanings. The Bermuda Triangle contains multitudes of life, from surface-dwelling plankton that generate much of Earth's oxygen to deep-sea creatures that have never known sunlight. Sperm whales dive into the triangle's depths to hunt giant squid in an eternal dance of predator and prey that humans have never directly witnessed. Sharks that were swimming these waters when Columbus made his voyage may still patrol the same territories. Their long lifespans creating living links to historical events we know only through written records. Coral reefs fringe many of the islands in and around the triangle, creating ecosystems of astonishing diversity and color. These living structures have formed over thousands of years, growing at rates measured in centimeters per decade. They have witnessed countless ships passing overhead, from dugout canoes to nuclear submarines, The reefs record environmental changes in their very structure, like living historical documents that scientists can read to understand past climate conditions. The human history of the region is equally rich and layered. Indigenous peoples developed sophisticated maritime cultures, navigating between islands in canoes capable of open ocean voyaging. European colonization brought conflict, slavery, and the triangular trade routes that connected Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Pirates established bases throughout the Caribbean, preying on shipping lanes that passed through what would later be called the Bermuda Triangle. Naval battles during multiple wars played out in these waters, leaving the seafloor littered with wrecks that serve as both historical artifacts and artificial reefs supporting marine life. This layering of natural history, human activity, and accumulated legend creates the rich tapestry that is the Bermuda Triangle, not simply a place where ships and planes disappear, but a complex intersection of geography, oceanography, meteorology, history, and mythology. To reduce it to any single dimension is to miss the fuller picture, just as describing an iceberg only by its visible tip misses the greater mass below the surface. As the night continues its slow journey across the sky, the stars wheel in their ancient patterns above the triangle's waters. Imagine being aboard a vessel crossing this region centuries ago, navigating by these same stars, feeling the pulse of the ocean beneath a wooden hull. The sensations would not be so different from those experienced by sailors today. The same salt air, the same rhythm of waves, the same vast horizon where sea meets sky in a boundary that seems both precise and infinite. What has changed is our understanding of the forces at work in this environment, our technological capacity to predict and respond to natural phenomena, our ability to maintain contact across vast distances. Yet even with these advances, the ocean retains its fundamental power, its capacity to overwhelm human constructions and calculations when conditions align in particular ways. Perhaps this is part of why the Bermuda Triangle maintains its grip on our imagination. It reminds us of limits that persist despite technological progress, of forces that remain beyond our control despite centuries of increasing mastery over the natural world. In an age when satellites track our every movement and algorithms predict our behavior, there is something almost reassuring about a place that still generates genuine puzzles, that still occasionally confounds our expectations. The water beneath you feels warmer now, like the Gulf Stream as it flows northward through the triangle. This massive river within the ocean carries heat from the Caribbean toward Europe, influencing climate patterns across the entire North Atlantic region. The stream moves nearly 4 billion cubic feet of water per second, more than 3,000 times the flow of the Amazon River. Its course has shifted over centuries and millennia, responding to larger patterns of climate and ocean circulation. Scientists have suggested that disruptions to the Gulf Stream's flow patterns could be responsible for some triangle incidents. The boundary where the stream's warm waters meet cooler Atlantic currents can create areas of intense turbulence, sudden fog formations, and unpredictable weather. Ships or aircraft passing through these boundaries might encounter conditions dramatically different from those just a few miles away. The interaction between air and water creates other phenomena relevant to triangle mysteries. Warm surface water evaporates more readily, creating conditions favorable for waterspout formation. The contrast between warm water and cooler air, masses passing overhead, can generate sudden squalls that appear and disappear with remarkable speed. Before weather satellites provided comprehensive monitoring, vessels could sail into such formations with little warning. Looking deeper still, the seafloor beneath the triangle features numerous seamounts, underwater mountains rising thousands of feet from the ocean floor. These massive structures influence currents, creating upwellings and turbulence patterns that can affect surface conditions. The interaction between these submarine features and the Gulf Stream creates complex, sometimes unpredictable dynamics that oceanographers are still working to fully understand. The region's geological history contains other potential clues to its unusual properties. Parts of the triangle overlay the edge of the continental shelf, where the relatively shallow waters of the continental margin drop precipitously into the deep ocean. These underwater cliffs create dramatic changes in depth over short distances, affecting how waves propagate and potentially contributing to the formation of rogue waves. Beneath the seafloor lie layers of sediment hundreds of feet thick, accumulated over millions of years. Within these sediments, microorganisms have decomposed, creating vast deposits of methane hydrate, a frozen compound of methane and water that remains stable under the intense pressure and cold temperatures of the deep ocean. As mentioned earlier, disturbances to these deposits could potentially release large bubbles of methane that rise to the surface, temporarily reducing water density and affecting buoyancy. Laboratory experiments have demonstrated that methane bubbles can indeed sink model ships by reducing water density. Whether this phenomenon has actually caused ships to sink in the triangle remains speculative, but it represents one of the more scientifically plausible explanations for vessels disappearing suddenly without sending distress signals. Your consciousness continues its gentle descent, much as light fades with depth in the ocean. At the surface, sunlight illuminates the full spectrum of colors. By 30 feet down, red light has been absorbed by the water molecules, giving everything a bluish cast. At 100 feet, orange has disappeared. By 300 feet, even yellow has been filtered out, leaving only green, blue, and violet. Beyond 1,000 feet, even these colors fade, leaving only the faintest blue before giving way to complete darkness. In this gradual transition from light to dark, from wakefulness towards sleep, the Bermuda Triangle story continues to unfold like a dream, combining elements of reality and imagination, of documented incidents and legendary elaborations, of scientific explanation and enduring mystery. Human fascination with the triangle reached its peak during the 1970s, when books like Berlitz's bestseller and films like Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which referenced the return of the crew of Flight 19, brought the legend to mainstream global audiences. Magazine articles, television documentaries, and even popular songs reference the region's supposed supernatural properties. The triangle became a cultural touchstone, representing the broader human fascination with unexplained phenomena that characterized the decade. This cultural moment coincided with significant advances in oceanography, meteorology, and other sciences relevant to understanding the region's natural characteristics. The contrast between increasing scientific knowledge and persistent public fascination with supernatural explanations created a tension that itself became part of the triangle story, a microcosm of larger conversations about the relationship between science and mystery, between rational explanation and experiences that seem to defy conventional understanding. By the 1980s and 90s, researchers had documented many of the natural phenomena now considered potential explanations for triangle incidents: rogue waves, methane hydrate releases, unusual local magnetic variations, and microbursts among them. Books like Larry Kush's The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved offered systematic debunking of many famous cases, showing how ordinary circumstances, often embellished in subsequent retellings, could explain most disappearances. Yet even as scientific understanding advanced, the triangle retained its place in popular imagination. It had become more than a geographical location or a collection of incidents. It had transformed into a modern myth, a story that expressed something fundamental about human relationship to the unknown. Like all enduring myths, it contained elements of truth, wrapped in narrative layers that spoke to deeper psychological and cultural needs. The ocean itself has always occupied this dual position in human consciousness, as both physical reality to be navigated, harvested, and studied, and as symbolic realm representing the unconscious, the mysterious, the aspects of existence that resist full rational comprehension. The Bermuda Triangle, situated in the meeting place of the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, perfectly embodies this duality. As you continue to relax more deeply, imagine floating at the boundary between these two bodies of water, the relatively enclosed, island-studded Caribbean and the vast open Atlantic. This transition zone creates unique conditions where different water masses meet, where weather patterns collide, where the seafloor geography changes dramatically. Boundaries and transition zones often generate unusual phenomena, making them natural settings for stories that explore the liminal spaces between the known and the unknown. The islands scattered throughout and around the triangle have their own rich traditions of maritime lore. Bahamian fishermen speak of the lusca, a massive octopus-like creature said to create whirlpools that can drag small boats under. Cuban sailors tell stories of lights seen hovering above the water on dark nights. Bermudian folklore includes accounts of strange mists that disorient travelers. These local traditions predate the international fame of the Bermuda Triangle, but contain similar themes of disorientation, mysterious forces, and the unpredictable nature of the sea. Indigenous perspectives on the region offer yet another layer of understanding. The Taino people, who inhabited much of the Caribbean when Columbus arrived, had a sophisticated cosmology that included zemi, spirits or deities associated with natural forces. Among these was Guabanchex, the goddess of storms, believed to control the destructive hurricanes that periodically devastated the islands. Rather than seeing storms as random natural events, this worldview recognized them as part of larger patterns of energy and relationship that connected all aspects of existence. This perspective, that natural phenomena exist within webs of meaning and relationship, rather than as isolated incidents to be analyzed separately, offers a different approach to understanding the Bermuda Triangle. Perhaps what makes the region unique is not any single factor, but the particular way multiple factors interact, creating conditions that occasionally produce extraordinary events. Modern scientific investigation increasingly recognizes the importance of studying such interactions rather than isolated variables. How air and water interface under specific temperature conditions, how underwater topography affects surface currents, how human perception and decision-making change under stress. The complexity of these interwoven systems may explain why simple answers have remained elusive despite centuries of maritime experience in the region. The stars continue their slow journey across the night sky, the same stars that have guided sailors through the triangle for centuries. Your awareness of them fades as sleep approaches, just as their light fades with approaching dawn. The rhythm of the narrative slows, matching the rhythm of your breathing. The gentle rise and fall like waves on a calm sea. Among the many vessels that have navigated the triangle without incident are some of the most sophisticated ships ever built. Nuclear submarines capable of monitoring minute variations in water conditions. Research vessels equipped with advanced oceanographic instruments. Aircraft carriers with comprehensive weather tracking systems. These journeys, numbering in the thousands every year, rarely make headlines precisely because they are uneventful. The ordinary safe passage does not become part of the triangle story, creating a selection bias that amplifies the unusual and mysterious. This pattern reflects a broader human tendency to notice and remember the exceptional while overlooking the commonplace. Aircraft that complete their journeys safely, ships that arrive in port on schedule, these do not engage our attention or imagination in the way that disappearances and mysteries do. This cognitive bias toward the unusual helps explain how the triangle's reputation has persisted despite statistical analyses showing it to be no more dangerous than other heavily trafficked marine regions. Yet statistics tell only part of the story. The human experience of mystery, of encountering phenomena that resist immediate explanation, cannot be reduced to numerical analysis. Sailors who have watched their compasses spin inexplicably while crossing certain parts of the triangle. Pilots who have experienced sudden and severe turbulence in clear skies. Passengers who have observed strange lights or unusual cloud formations. These first-hand experiences form another kind of evidence, subjective, but nonetheless real to those who live them. Science continues to discover new oceanic phenomena that expand our understanding of what is possible in marine environments. Bioluminescent organisms create underwater light shows visible from the surface. Massive phytoplankton blooms can change water color and even affect local weather patterns. Internal waves, giant ripples moving along the boundary between water layers of different densities, can create surface effects visible from aircraft. These phenomena, documented relatively recently, suggest that other, as yet undiscovered processes may be at work in the triangle's waters. The night deepens further as you drift along the edge of sleep. The narrative continues its gentle flow, carrying you like the Gulf Stream toward dreams that may contain elements of this story, transformed by your own imagination into new configurations of meaning and imagery. Human stories about the sea have always navigated the boundary between fact and legend, between documented experience and mythic interpretation. From the ancient tales of Odysseus encountering sea monsters to modern accounts of rogue waves 70 feet high, marine narratives blend observation with meaning-making, helping us comprehend forces larger than ourselves. The Bermuda Triangle stands in this tradition, a place where human experience of the ocean in all its complexity finds expression in stories that encompass both natural phenomena and their impact on human consciousness. Its enduring power derives not from supernatural forces, but from this capacity to contain multiple layers of meaning, to serve as repository for our collective fascination with the sea's power and mystery. Human beings have always mapped both the physical features of their environment and the contours of their own psychological landscape onto the world around them. Mountains become gods, rivers become boundaries between worlds, forests become places of transformation. The ocean, with its vast horizon and hidden depths, naturally becomes the setting for stories about the unknown, the mysterious, the aspects of existence that lie beyond ordinary perception. The Bermuda Triangle occupies a unique place in this geography of imagination, not fully mythical like Atlantis, yet not entirely reducible to conventional explanation. It exists in the productive tension between mystery and knowledge, between wonder and analysis, between the unexplained and the explicable. This liminal quality gives it lasting resonance in human consciousness, even as specific incidents attributed to its influence yield to investigation. As the stars fade and sleep draws closer, the ocean of consciousness becomes calmer, deeper, more unified. The separate currents of thought about historical disappearances, natural phenomena, human perception, cultural mythology begin to merge into a single flow, carrying you gently toward rest. The Bermuda Triangle will remain there, marked on maps and in imagination when you awaken. Its waters will continue to be crossed by countless vessels, most completing their journeys without incident, occasionally yielding new stories that will be added to its complex mythology. Scientists will continue to study its currents, its weather patterns, its underwater topography, gradually expanding our understanding of the natural forces at work in this region of the Atlantic. What makes the triangle unique is not any single extraordinary property, but the way it brings together multiple factors: geographical, meteorological, oceanographic, historical, and psychological, into a single concept that speaks to something fundamental in human experience: our simultaneous desire to explore and explain the world around us, and our recognition that some aspects of reality may always retain an element of mystery. This balance between knowledge and uncertainty, between explanation and wonder, creates the space in which meaningful human exploration, both external and internal, can unfold. The Bermuda Triangle invites us into this space, asking us to consider both what we know and what remains beyond our current understanding, both what can be measured and what can only be experienced. As sleep approaches, the distinction between these modes of knowing begins to dissolve. The analytical mind that separates, categorizes, and explains gives way to the dreaming mind that connects, transforms, and synthesizes. In this transition lies another kind of wisdom, another way of processing experience that complements our waking rationality. The waters grow still now, the stars fade completely, and the story of the Bermuda Triangle continues to unfold in the quiet depths of imagination, where mystery and meaning flow together like currents in the vast Atlantic night. Morning will eventually come to these waters, as it has for countless millennia. Sunlight will touch the waves first as a gentle glow on the eastern horizon, then spread across the surface in shimmering patterns of gold and silver. Beneath this luminous blanket, life continues its ancient rhythms, from microscopic plankton drifting with the currents to massive whales diving through layers of depth and darkness in search of food. The triangle awakens each day as part of a living system that extends far beyond its loosely defined boundaries. Scientists studying the region have discovered that the Gulf Stream, which flows through the triangle, creates something remarkable called blue holes. These are essentially underwater caves or sinkholes that appear as dark blue circles when viewed from above. The Bahamas contain some of the deepest blue holes in the world, reaching depths of more than 600 feet. These formations were created during past ice ages when sea levels were much lower, allowing rain and groundwater to dissolve limestone and form cave systems that were later flooded as glaciers melted and seas rose. Blue holes create unusual electromagnetic conditions. The combination of salt water and fresh water layers, along with the unique mineral composition of the surrounding rock, can generate localized magnetic anomalies. Divers exploring these formations have reported compass needles spinning unpredictably, a phenomenon reminiscent of the navigational difficulties reported by pilots and sailors throughout the triangle's history. These natural features might explain some of the navigational anomalies without requiring supernatural explanations. The interplay between air and sea in the triangle creates other phenomena that blur the boundaries between the ordinary and the extraordinary. On certain nights, when conditions of temperature and humidity align in particular ways, the atmosphere above the water can create mirages. Light rays bend through layers of air with different temperatures and densities, potentially making distant objects appear closer than they are, creating false horizons, or even making islands seem to float above the water's surface. These atmospheric conditions might explain some reports of ghost ships or islands that appear and disappear. Before modern meteorology, before satellite imagery and radar, sailors relied on visual assessment of conditions and hard-earned experience. An unusual mirage or a peculiar cloud formation might have seemed like something beyond natural explanation, especially if followed by more conventional dangers like sudden storms or rogue waves. The human tendency to create narrative from experience would naturally connect these phenomena, weaving them into stories of supernatural influence or mysterious forces. The 19th century brought increased shipping through the triangle as global trade expanded following the Industrial Revolution. Sailing vessels gave way to steam-powered ships, then to ships with diesel engines, each generation of technology bringing new capabilities, but also new vulnerabilities when confronting the ocean's power. Despite technological advances, ships continued to disappear occasionally without explanation, adding to the region's enigmatic reputation. One such vessel was the USS Wasp, a naval ship that vanished in 1914 while patrolling the Triangle. No trace of the vessel or its crew of 35 was ever found. As with earlier disappearances, speculation ranged from sudden catastrophic weather to more exotic explanations. The absence of wreckage fed theories about supernatural forces or sudden underwater events that could swallow a ship whole. By the early 20th century, a new dimension was added to triangle mysteries as aviation developed and aircraft began crossing the region. The air above the Bermuda Triangle presented its own set of challenges and potential hazards. Aircraft encountering the powerful updrafts and downdrafts associated with thunderstorms could be thrown thousands of feet in seconds, potentially causing structural damage or disorienting pilots. Waterspouts, essentially tornadoes over water, could reach heights of several thousand feet, potentially intersecting with flight paths of early aircraft that flew at much lower altitudes than modern jets. The infamous Flight 19, mentioned earlier, continues to exemplify the perfect triangle mystery. Experienced military pilots flying well-maintained aircraft on a routine training mission in apparently good weather, becoming inexplicably disoriented and eventually disappearing without a trace. The flight leader's reported compass malfunctions and confusion about his position have never been fully explained, though theories range from magnetic anomalies to simple human error in unfamiliar conditions. What makes this incident particularly compelling is that it occurred after World War II, when aircraft technology and pilot training had significantly advanced. The TBM Avenger torpedo bombers flown by the squadron were considered reliable aircraft. The mission took place in daylight hours in December, outside hurricane season, and during a time of year generally characterized by favorable flying conditions in that region. All of these factors make conventional explanations more challenging, leaving space for continued speculation. Theories about Flight 19 have evolved over decades. Some focus on Lieutenant Taylor's possible disorientation after flying over small, visually similar islands. Others suggest the squadron may have encountered unusual weather conditions not reported from land-based stations. More technical explanations involve possible simultaneous failures of multiple compasses due to unknown local magnetic phenomena. Each theory addresses some aspects of the mystery while leaving others unexplained, maintaining the incident's position as a centerpiece of triangle lore. The disappearance of the search aircraft sent to find Flight 19, a Martin Mariner with 13 crew aboard, compounds the mystery. This aircraft type had a nickname among Navy pilots, the flying gas tank, due to fuel vapors that sometimes accumulated in its hull. A sudden explosion might explain why this search plane also disappeared without sending a distress call. Yet no debris or oil slick was found, despite extensive searching in the area where the plane would have gone down if it exploded. Again, the absence of evidence leaves room for multiple interpretations. As you drift deeper towards sleep, consider how absence itself, the lack of wreckage, the silence where distress calls might have been expected, the empty spaces on the map where vessels should have appeared, becomes a kind of presence in these stories. Absence is the defining feature of triangle disappearances, the common thread connecting incidents across centuries. This absence creates a narrative vacuum that human imagination naturally fills with explanations ranging from the mundane to the fantastic. Marine archaeology continues to chip away at some of these absences, discovering wrecks long thought to have vanished completely. Modern technology, side-scanning sonar, remotely operated underwater vehicles, advanced diving equipment, allows exploration of depths previously inaccessible. Each discovery transforms mystery into history, replacing speculation with physical evidence. Yet the vastness of the search area and the depths involved mean that many wrecks may remain undiscovered for centuries to come, or may have been so thoroughly destroyed by natural forces that little recognizable remains. The oceans continually transform what they claim. Wood is consumed by shipworms and other marine organisms. Iron and steel corrode in salt water. Currents scatter lighter materials across thousands of square miles. Even massive ships break apart over time, their components settling into sediment or being carried away by underwater currents. This natural process of reclamation and transformation means that absence of evidence cannot be taken as evidence of absence, another factor that keeps triangle mysteries open to multiple interpretations. The morning light strengthens across the triangle's waters as our narrative continues. Imagine the surface from above, a vast expanse of blue stretching to the horizon, scattered with islands like emeralds on indigo cloth. From this perspective, the triangle does not appear mysterious or threatening. It is simply a segment of ocean, defined by human imagination rather than any visible boundary, part of the greater Atlantic that has connected civilizations for centuries. Yet beneath that seemingly tranquil surface, complex processes unfold. In certain areas of the triangle, particularly around the Bahama banks, the seafloor rises dramatically from abyssal depths to relatively shallow plateaus. These sudden changes in depth affect how waves propagate, potentially creating conditions where multiple wave systems intersect and occasionally combine their energy to form rogue waves. A vessel caught in such a convergence might be overwhelmed before crew members could send distress signals. The region's weather patterns add another layer of complexity. The triangle lies in the convergence zone between tropical and temperate climate systems, where warm air masses from the Caribbean meet cooler air moving south from North America. This boundary area naturally generates more atmospheric instability than regions dominated by a single climate system. Modern weather monitoring can predict many resulting phenomena, but localized events may still occur with little warning, especially in eras before satellite imaging. Microbursts, intense downdrafts of air that hit the surface and spread outward, can create wind speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour in areas as small as 2 or 3 miles across. These events last only minutes, but can generate massive waves and hurricane-force winds capable of capsizing small vessels or creating dangerous flying conditions for aircraft. Because of their small size and brief duration, microbursts could explain incidents where one vessel encountered catastrophic conditions, while others nearby experienced nothing unusual. The seafloor continues to reveal its secrets through ongoing exploration. In 2020, scientists using satellite data identified nearly 100,000 previously unknown small seamounts and underwater hills throughout the world's oceans, including numerous features within the Bermuda Triangle. These formations affect local currents, creating eddies and upwellings that influence surface conditions. The interaction between underwater topography, ocean currents, and weather systems creates a three-dimensional environment of extraordinary complexity, one that continues to challenge complete scientific understanding. Human factors remain essential to any comprehensive examination of triangle incidents. Navigation errors, equipment failures, and judgment mistakes occur in all maritime regions, but the triangle's reputation ensures that such incidents there receive greater attention and are more likely to be incorporated into its mythology. The psychology of perception, also plays a role. Pilots or sailors who have heard triangle stories might interpret ambiguous situations through that lens, potentially affecting their decisions in challenging conditions. The development of modern navigation technology has dramatically reduced the number of vessels and aircraft lost due to navigational errors. Global Positioning System, GPS, satellites provide precise location data unaffected by local magnetic variations. Radar systems detect other vessels and land masses even in conditions of poor visibility. Depth sounders warn of shallow water. Weather satellites track storms with remarkable precision, allowing vessels to avoid dangerous conditions. These advances have made travel through the Triangle statistically much safer than in previous centuries. Yet even with these technologies, the sea retains its fundamental power. Satellites can track a hurricane's path, but cannot prevent it from forming. Radar can show approaching waves, but cannot stop them from striking a vessel. GPS can provide precise coordinates, but becomes useless if electrical systems fail. The ocean's capacity to overwhelm human technology under certain conditions remains a constant in the Triangle and throughout the world's waters. This tension between increasing technological control and the persistent power of natural forces creates the context in which modern Triangle stories unfold. Incidents that might once have been attributed to supernatural causes are now examined through scientific frameworks, yet the complexity of interactions between atmosphere, ocean, and seafloor ensures that some events remain difficult to explain fully. This ambiguity maintains the Triangle's position as a place where mystery and science continue their centuries-long conversation. Cultural representations of the Triangle have evolved alongside scientific understanding. Early accounts focused on straightforward reporting of disappearances, with supernatural explanations emerging more prominently in the mid-20th century. Books like Berlitz's bestseller proposed extraterrestrial involvement, connections to the mythical lost continent of Atlantis, or mysterious energy fields. These more exotic interpretations found fertile ground in the cultural context of the 1960s and 70s, when conventional explanations of many phenomena were being questioned across society. More recent documentaries and publications tend towards scientific explanations while acknowledging the genuine mysteries that remain. This balanced approach recognizes both the advances in understanding natural phenomena that might explain many incidents and the legitimate questions that persist about specific cases. The Triangle has become a symbol for the productive tension between knowledge and mystery, between explanation and wonder, a tension that drives both scientific inquiry and human imagination. As the narrative continues its gentle flow, imagine the perspective shifting from the surface to the depths and back again, like breathing, now seeing the expanse of water stretching to the horizon, now diving beneath to observe currents flowing in three-dimensional complexity, now rising again to view the interaction between sea and sky. This rhythm mirrors the movement of consciousness between different levels of awareness, between focused attention and diffuse contemplation, between analytical thought and synthetic understanding. Water itself embodies this fluidity between states. The same H2O molecule might exist as vapor in the air, as liquid in the ocean, or as ice in deeper waters, changing form without changing essence. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle serves a similar function in human imagination, a concept that changes form across time and culture while maintaining its essential nature as a space where the known and unknown, the explicable and the mysterious, the mundane and the extraordinary flow into one another. The indigenous peoples who first navigated these waters understood this fluidity between states of being, between the visible world and the forces that lie beneath appearance. Their cosmologies made space for transformations and connections that Western scientific frameworks sometimes struggle to accommodate. The triangle's enduring power might stem partly from its capacity to reconnect modern consciousness with this more fluid way of experiencing the world, where boundaries between categories remain permeable and multiple interpretations can coexist. The waters grow deeper in your consciousness as sleep approaches. The narrative continues its gentle motion, like waves rising and falling against a distant shore. Each paragraph is another step into the depths, another layer of understanding about this region where the ordinary and the extraordinary have mingled in human experience for centuries. Modern scientific investigation of the triangle often focuses on methane hydrate deposits beneath the seafloor. These frozen compounds form under specific conditions of temperature and pressure, trapping methane gas molecules within crystalline structures of water. When these deposits destabilize due to seismic activity, changes in water temperature, or other factors, they can release large volumes of gas that rise through the water column as bubbles. Laboratory experiments have demonstrated that when sufficient methane is released, it can significantly reduce water density, potentially affecting buoyancy enough to sink vessels caught in such an area. The same phenomenon could theoretically affect aircraft flying low over the water if a large enough gas release created a zone of lower air density. While direct evidence linking specific triangle disappearances to methane releases remains elusive, the scientific plausibility of the mechanism keeps it among the more credible natural explanations. Remote sensing technologies have identified numerous locations within the triangle where methane hydrate deposits exist in the sediments below the seafloor. Oceanographers have documented gas releases from these deposits, though not at the catastrophic scales that would be necessary to explain sudden ship sinkings or aircraft crashes. The possibility remains that larger releases occurred in the past or might occur in the future, particularly as ocean temperatures rise due to climate change, potentially destabilizing methane hydrate deposits that have remained frozen for thousands of years. The concentration of methane hydrates in parts of the triangle connects to the region's geological history. During past ice ages, when sea levels were much lower, areas now underwater were exposed to air. Plant material accumulated and was buried in sediments as seas rose again, eventually transforming into the carbon-rich deposits that support methane-producing microorganisms. This process created the conditions for methane hydrate formation in specific areas, including parts of the continental shelf region that lies within the triangle's commonly defined boundaries. Other geological features continue to interest researchers studying the region. Fracture zones, areas where the Earth's crust has broken due to tectonic forces, run through portions of the triangle. These zones can channel heat and gases from deep within the Earth, potentially creating localized conditions different from surrounding waters. They may also influence magnetic field variations in ways that could affect sensitive navigational equipment, particularly in earlier eras when compass technology was less advanced. The night continues its slow journey as you move deeper towards sleep. Stars wheel overhead in patterns ancient sailors used to navigate these same waters. The Bermuda Triangle exists in both time and space, a geographical region with defined coordinates on maps, and a historical phenomenon that has evolved through centuries of human interaction with this particular segment of ocean. Its story weaves together indigenous maritime knowledge, European exploration, commercial shipping, military operations, and scientific research into a complex tapestry that continues to unfold. The psychological dimension of the triangle cannot be separated from its physical reality. Human perception and interpretation shape how we experience phenomena, influencing what we notice and how we organize information into meaningful patterns. The triangle's reputation creates an expectation framework that affects how incidents there are perceived and reported. A compass malfunction elsewhere might be attributed to equipment failure. In the triangle, it becomes evidence supporting the region's mysterious properties. This feedback loop between expectation and interpretation reinforces the triangle's special status in popular imagination. Some researchers have suggested that these psychological factors extend to the experience of disorientation itself. Studies of spatial cognition show that humans can become profoundly disoriented in environments with few visual reference points, exactly the conditions found over open ocean. This disorientation can trigger anxiety responses that further impair decision-making, potentially creating situations where experienced pilots or sailors make errors they would normally avoid. The combination of spatial disorientation and anxiety might explain some incidents where crews reported confusion about their position despite having functional navigation equipment. The triangle's hold on imagination has inspired numerous creative works beyond the documentary and speculative nonfiction accounts discussed earlier. Novels, films, television series, and songs have incorporated the region as setting or plot element, further cementing its position in global consciousness. These cultural representations often emphasize the mysterious aspects while downplaying scientific explanations, naturally drawn to the dramatic potential of unexplained disappearances and supernatural forces. This artistic engagement with the triangle transforms it from geographical location to cultural symbol, a space where humanity confronts the limits of knowledge and control, where the illusion of complete mastery over natural forces dissolves against the reality of the deep ocean and its complex, sometimes unpredictable dynamics. In this symbolic dimension, the triangle serves a function similar to frontier spaces in earlier cultural narratives, a boundary area where the known gives way to the unknown, where conventional understanding is challenged by experiences that resist immediate explanation. Your consciousness continues its gentle descent towards sleep, mirroring the increasing depths of the ocean in our narrative. Like sediment settling softly to the seafloor, thoughts become less distinct, more diffuse, gradually merging into the landscape of emerging dreams. The Bermuda Triangle story continues in this liminal space between wakefulness and sleep, between documented fact and imaginative interpretation. Among the more recent incidents that have contributed to the triangle's ongoing mythology was the 2015 disappearance of the cargo ship El Faro during Hurricane Joaquin. Although the vessel sank due to clearly identified causes, the captain's decision to sail too close to the hurricane's path, along with mechanical failures that left the ship without propulsion, its location within the triangle connected it to the region's history of maritime disasters. The wreck was located a month after the sinking, lying in 15,000 feet of water on the edge of a submarine canyon northeast of the Bahamas. The El Faro incident demonstrates how even well-documented disasters with clear causal explanations become incorporated into the triangle narrative when they occur within its boundaries. This process of mythological accretion has occurred throughout the region's history. Ordinary maritime and aviation accidents, fully explainable through conventional means, are woven into the larger story, reinforcing its statistical significance and cultural resonance. Yet there remain cases that resist complete explanation, even with modern investigative techniques and understanding of natural phenomena. The disappearance of the 31-foot pleasure boat Witchcraft is one such case. On December 22, 1967, experienced sailor Dan Burak and his friend, Father Patrick Horgan, took the boat just 1 mile offshore from Miami to view the Christmas lights along the coastline. At 9:19 p.m., Burak radioed the Coast Guard to report that his vessel had hit something. He stated that there was no emergency, but requested a tow back to shore. The Coast Guard responded immediately, arriving on scene just 19 minutes after receiving the call. Despite clear weather, good visibility, and the short distance from shore, no trace of the Witchcraft was found. No debris, no oil slick, no life jackets, nothing. The boat had been unsinkable, equipped with special flotation devices that would have kept it afloat even if it had been severely damaged. An extensive search covering nearly 25,000 square miles over 6 days yielded nothing. The vessel and its occupants had vanished completely. Cases like the Witchcraft, involving small distances, immediate response, good conditions, and the total absence of wreckage, represent the core of the triangle mystery. While any individual element might be explained conventionally, the combination of factors creates a puzzle that continues to engage researchers and feed popular fascination with the region. These cases suggest either extraordinarily rare combinations of natural circumstances or factors not yet fully understood by science. The search for such understanding continues across multiple scientific disciplines. Oceanographers study the complex interactions between the Gulf Stream and other current systems that flow through the region. Meteorologists examine the formation of microbursts and other localized weather phenomena that might explain sudden, catastrophic events. Geologists investigate the release of gases from seafloor deposits and the influence of underwater topography on surface conditions. Psychologists explore how perception and decision-making change under conditions of spatial disorientation and stress. This multidisciplinary approach recognizes that triangle incidents likely have multiple causes rather than a single explanation. Different disappearances may have resulted from different combinations of factors, some primarily natural, others primarily human, most involving interaction between the two. This complexity resists both simplistic supernatural explanations and equally simplistic debunking efforts. The triangle's mysteries exist not in some paranormal dimension, but in the intricate interplay of forces that characterize the boundary between sea and sky, between human technology and natural power. As sleep draws nearer, the narrative continues its gentle flow, like the Gulf Stream itself moving through the waters of the triangle. Warm and steady, it carries you further from the shores of wakefulness toward the open ocean of dreams. The story has neither beginning nor end, merely points of entry and departure in a continuous cycle of human engagement with this particular region of the Atlantic. The cultural history of the triangle reveals how the same geographical space can be perceived differently across time and between cultures. Indigenous navigators saw it as part of their known world, populated by spirits and energies that required respect and appropriate ritual engagement. European explorers experienced it as challenging but navigable, part of the expanding map of known territories. 19th century shipping companies viewed it pragmatically as a segment of established trade routes. Mid-20th century writers reframed it as zone of supernatural mystery. Contemporary scientists approach it as complex environmental system whose processes require integrated study across disciplines. These shifting perceptions remind us that places exist not only as physical locations, but as cultural constructions shaped by the stories we tell about them. The triangle's boundaries are defined not by natural features, but by narrative convention, a human imposition of geometric form onto fluid space. Its significance derives not from inherent properties, but from accumulated layers of meaning assigned through centuries of human interaction, interpretation, and imagination. Yet the physical realities of the region, its weather patterns, ocean currents, seafloor topography, and geological features, provide the material substrate for these cultural constructions. The triangle's natural characteristics create conditions where unusual events do sometimes occur, where vessels and aircraft occasionally encounter challenges that may become dangerous under specific circumstances. The relationship between these natural phenomena and their cultural interpretation creates the dynamic tension that has maintained the triangle's place in global consciousness for generations. Modern vessels continue to cross these waters daily. Container ships laden with goods bound for global markets. Cruise ships carrying tourists on tropical vacations. Military vessels engaged in training exercises. Research ships conducting oceanographic studies. Private yachts exploring the islands scattered throughout the region. Aircraft pass overhead by the thousands. Commercial jets connecting continents. Cargo planes transporting time-sensitive materials. Private pilots enjoying the beauty of flight over tropical waters. The vast majority complete their journeys without incident, their safe passages unrecorded in the ongoing narrative of the triangle. Only those that encounter something unusual, whether ultimately explained or not, become part of the story, creating the selection bias that amplifies the region's reputation for danger. This pattern reflects a broader human tendency to notice the exceptional while overlooking the commonplace, to remember the mysterious while forgetting the mundane. Sleep approaches more closely now, like a distant shore gradually becoming visible through morning mist. The narrative continues to carry you gently toward this destination. Each paragraph, another wave moving across the surface of consciousness. Each sentence, another moment in the long relationship between humanity and this particular segment of ocean that has acquired such symbolic resonance. Among the most powerful natural forces that sometimes affect the triangle are hurricanes, massive tropical cyclones that form over warm ocean waters when specific atmospheric conditions align. These immense storms, some spanning hundreds of miles in diameter, generate winds exceeding 150 miles per hour and waves that can tower more than 50 feet high. They move across the ocean like living entities, drawing energy from warm water and transforming it into motion and precipitation. Before weather satellites provided comprehensive monitoring and tracking, hurricanes could appear with little warning, especially to vessels far from land. A ship might sail into the outer bands of such a storm before its crew recognized the danger, by which time escape might be impossible. The combination of winds, waves, and torrential rain could overwhelm even well-constructed vessels, potentially causing them to sink before distress signals could be sent or received. While modern technology has dramatically reduced the threat hurricanes pose to shipping and aviation by allowing them to be tracked and avoided, these storms continue to influence the triangle's environment in less obvious ways. Their passage stirs the ocean to considerable depths, bringing nutrients from below to surface waters, affecting current patterns, and sometimes altering seafloor features through the sheer force of wave action. These changes may persist long after the storm has passed, creating lasting effects on local conditions. Beyond hurricanes lie more subtle atmospheric phenomena that might explain some triangle incidents. Air mass boundaries, the zones where air bodies with different temperature and humidity characteristics meet, can create unusual visual effects and turbulence patterns. When warm, moisture-laden Caribbean air meets cooler, drier air masses moving south from North America, the resulting instability can generate localized but intense weather events that might affect vessels or aircraft caught in their path. Electronic fog, a term coined by pilot Bruce Gernon to describe unusual meteorological conditions he encountered while flying through the Triangle in 1970, represents one of the more intriguing reported phenomena. Gernon described flying into what appeared to be a tunnel-shaped cloud formation that contained unusual electromagnetic effects, causing instruments to malfunction and creating visual conditions unlike normal clouds or fog. He reported emerging from this formation to discover that his aircraft had traveled an impossible distance in the time elapsed, suggesting some kind of space-time anomaly. While conventional meteorology does not recognize electronic fog as an established phenomenon, Jernon's account has interested researchers studying atmospheric electricity and unusual cloud formations. Some have suggested that what he experienced might have been a rare combination of electrical conditions, water vapor density, and light refraction that created both the unusual visual appearance and the apparent effects on instruments. The experience, while genuinely anomalous, might have natural rather than supernatural causes. This pattern of genuinely unusual experiences generating speculation about supernatural causes, later followed by potential natural explanations that themselves reveal previously unrecognized phenomena, characterizes much of the Triangle's scientific history. The search for explanations of reported anomalies has sometimes led to the discovery or better understanding of natural processes that might not otherwise have received such focused attention. As you drift closer to sleep, the boundary between external narrative and internal thought becomes increasingly permeable, much as the boundary between air and water blurs in ocean spray, or as the distinction between dream and memory softens in the moments before sleep claims consciousness entirely. The triangle story continues to unfold in this liminal space, neither fully external fact nor fully internal creation, but a meeting place between objective reality and subjective experience. One of the more enduring theories about the Bermuda Triangle involves Earth's magnetic field and its potential effects on navigation. The planet's magnetic poles do not align precisely with its geographic poles, creating a difference between true north, the direction toward the Earth's rotational axis, and magnetic north, the direction toward which compasses point. This difference, known as magnetic declination, varies across the Earth's surface and changes slowly over time as the magnetic poles drift. There are two locations on the planet where magnetic compasses point directly at the geographic North Pole, creating zero declination. One of these runs near the eastern edge of the Bermuda Triangle, forming what navigators call the oceanic line. When crossing this line from either direction, compass readings change in ways that might be confusing to inexperienced navigators or in situations where attention is divided among multiple tasks or concerns. Beyond this normal variation, some researchers have suggested the triangle might contain magnetic anomalies, localized disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field caused by geological features or other factors. While comprehensive magnetic surveys have not confirmed the existence of dramatic anomalies specific to the triangle, more subtle variations might exist, particularly in areas with certain types of seafloor composition or near underwater geological features like fracture zones. The potential influence of these magnetic factors has diminished significantly with the development of navigation systems that do not rely on magnetic compasses, gyroscopic compasses, inertial navigation systems, radio direction finding, and satellite positioning have all made navigation more reliable and less susceptible to local magnetic variations. Yet historically, when magnetic compasses were the primary navigation tool, these factors might have contributed to disorientation and navigational errors in the region. The emergence of the triangle as a concept in popular culture coincided with a broader societal interest in unexplained phenomena during the mid-20th century. The post-World War II period saw increased reporting and discussion of unidentified flying objects, psychic phenomena, ancient astronaut theories, and various cryptozoological subjects like the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. The Bermuda Triangle fit comfortably within this cultural conversation about anomalous experiences and potential realities beyond conventional scientific understanding. This cultural context influenced how information about the region was presented and interpreted. Incidents that might otherwise have been reported as ordinary maritime or aviation accidents were framed as mysterious disappearances. Historical cases were sometimes presented without important contextual details that might have explained them, such as severe weather known to have been present but omitted from popular accounts. The selection of which incidents to include in triangle literature often emphasize the mysterious while excluding cases with clear explanations. Author Larry Kusha addressed these issues in his 1975 book, The Bermuda Triangle Mystery, Solved, which examined original sources for many famous triangle incidents and found significant discrepancies between these primary documents and later popular accounts. Kusha documented how stories had been sensationalized through omission of relevant facts, misrepresentation of the circumstances, or outright fabrication of details that made ordinary accidents seem mysterious. Yet even this more skeptical approach recognized that some cases remain genuinely puzzling. After accounting for exaggeration and sensationalism, after applying known scientific principles and acknowledging human factors, some disappearances still contain elements that resist complete explanation. These cases maintain the triangle's position as a place where mystery and knowledge continue their dialogue, where the tension between the explained and the unexplained generates ongoing inquiry. Sleep draws very near now, its gentle presence felt in the slowing of thought, in the gradual dissolution of boundaries between concepts, in the drift toward dream landscapes where the triangle's mysteries might take new forms in the theater of unconscious imagination. The narrative continues its unhurried pace, matching the rhythm of deepening rest. Each paragraph a soft wave carrying you further from the shores of wakefulness. The human relationship with the sea has always been characterized by both practical necessity and profound mystery. Early civilizations depended on the ocean for food, transportation, and trade, developing increasingly sophisticated technologies to navigate its surface and harvest its resources. Yet simultaneously, they created rich mythologies about what might exist beneath the waves or beyond the horizon. Sea monsters, enchanted islands, submerged civilizations, divine beings capable of controlling storms and currents. This dual perspective, the ocean as both navigable physical space and mysterious other realm, persists in modern engagement with the sea, including the Bermuda Triangle. Commercial shipping companies approach these waters pragmatically, calculating routes, fuel requirements, and scheduling with precision. Yet the same waters continue to inspire artists, writers, and filmmakers drawn to the symbolic potential of the deep, the unknown, the powerful forces that occasionally remind humanity of its relative insignificance against planetary processes. Perhaps the triangle's enduring cultural power stems from this duality, its capacity to exist simultaneously as thoroughly mapped geographical space, subject to scientific analysis, and as symbolic frontier, where human knowledge and control reach their limits. Like the horizon itself, always visible but never reachable, the triangle's mysteries recede as we approach them, maintaining their distance even as our understanding increases. Each explanation generates new questions. Each solved case reveals the complexity that makes complete understanding elusive. This quality makes the triangle a perfect subject for contemplation as sleep approaches, a topic that engages both analytical and imaginative faculties, that invites both scientific curiosity and wonder at the unknown. The balance between these modes of engagement creates the mental conditions conducive to the transition from wakefulness to sleep, from active directed thought to the more fluid associated processes of dreaming. As you drift deeper into this transitional state, imagine once more the surface of the Atlantic stretching to the horizon, waves moving in gentle rhythmic patterns that extend beyond sight. Beneath this surface, currents flow in their ancient circuits, carrying heat and life through the ocean's depths. Above, air masses move in their own patterns, shaped by the Earth's rotation, by temperature differentials between equator and poles, by the distribution of land and sea across the planet's surface. These fluid systems, oceanic and atmospheric, interact in countless ways, creating the ever-changing conditions experienced by those who travel through the triangle's waters or the skies above them. Their complexity ensures that complete prediction remains beyond human capability, that occasional surprises will continue to occur despite increasingly sophisticated monitoring and modeling. This inherent unpredictability maintains space for the unexpected, for experiences that temporarily exceed conventional explanation. Our journey through the Triangle's mysteries has touched on many possibilities: powerful natural phenomena like rogue waves and microbursts, geological features like methane hydrate deposits and magnetic anomalies, human factors like navigational errors and equipment failures, psychological elements like spatial disorientation and expectation effects. Each contributes to our understanding of what might have occurred in particular cases, yet none provides a comprehensive explanation for all reported incidents across the Triangle's history. This multiplicity of factors reflects the nature of complex systems, where effects rarely have single causes, where outcomes emerge from the interaction of numerous variables rather than from linear causal chains. The ocean itself is perhaps the ultimate complex system, influenced by everything from microscopic plankton to global climate patterns, from underwater volcanic activity to the gravitational pull of the moon. Human vessels and aircraft entering this system become part of its complexity, adding their own vulnerabilities and capabilities to the dynamic interplay of forces. The night deepens further as sleep approaches more closely. The stars that guided ancient navigators through these waters now shine only in your imagination as consciousness gradually surrenders to deeper rest. The narrative continues its gentle flow. Each sentence another step toward the horizon where wakefulness gives way to dreams. Among the more intriguing phenomena reported in the Triangle are unusual visual experiences. Sailors describing walls of fog that appear suddenly on clear days. Pilots noting strange light effects, unlike normal atmospheric conditions. Passengers observing what appear to be islands where none exist on charts. Some of these might be explained by temperature inversions, atmospheric conditions where a layer of warm air sits above cooler air near the surface, bending light rays to create mirages and false horizons. Such inversions can create fata morgana, complex mirages in which distant objects are distorted and magnified, sometimes appearing to float above the actual horizon. Ships beyond the curvature of the Earth may seem to hang in the air. Small islands might appear much larger than their actual size. The coastline may seem to change shape or display features that don't actually exist. To inexperienced observers, these optical phenomena might suggest supernatural influences, especially if they coincide with other unusual conditions like compass variations or unexpected weather changes. Water itself creates other optical effects that might contribute to unusual visual experiences. When sunlight strikes the ocean surface at certain angles, polarized light patterns form that can affect depth perception and distance estimation. The boundary between water and air creates refractive effects that distort objects seen across this interface. Wave motion constantly changes these effects, potentially creating visual confusion under certain combinations of lighting, sea state, and atmospheric conditions. The human perceptual system, evolved primarily for terrestrial environments, can struggle to accurately interpret conditions at sea, where visual reference points may be absent or misleading. Studies of perception in maritime environments have documented various illusions and misinterpretations that occur even among experienced sailors and pilots. These perceptual challenges, while natural and explainable, might contribute to reports of strange or seemingly impossible sights within the triangle. Beyond visual phenomena, some triangle reports include unusual auditory experiences, sounds that seem to have no source, voices heard when no one is present, or electronic noise interference that affects radio communications. These might result from atmospheric conditions that affect sound propagation, from electromagnetic interference with electronic equipment, or from the complex acoustics of the ocean-air interface where sounds can be reflected, refracted, and transformed in unexpected ways. The ocean itself generates numerous sounds: the breaking of waves, the movement of subsurface currents, the activities of marine life from tiny snapping shrimp to massive whale pods. Under certain conditions, these sounds can travel extraordinary distances or be focused by underwater topography to create unusual acoustic effects at specific locations. To human ears accustomed to terrestrial soundscapes, these oceanic acoustics might seem strange or even unsettling, particularly when experienced in conjunction with other unusual phenomena. Sleep is very near now, its presence felt in the slowing of thought, in the gradual dissolution of the boundary between narrative and consciousness. The triangle story continues to unfold in this liminal space, each paragraph a gentle wave carrying you closer to the shores of dreams, where the mysteries of the deep may take new forms in unconscious imagination. The cultural impact of the Bermuda Triangle extends far beyond debates about specific incidents or scientific explanations. It has become a metaphor used in contexts entirely separate from maritime or aviation concerns, a shorthand for any situation where things mysteriously disappear or where unexpected and seemingly inexplicable events occur. This metaphorical usage appears in discussions of everything from missing household items to gaps in organizational communication to unexpected changes in political positions. This broader cultural resonance suggests that the triangle speaks to something fundamental in human experience: our encounter with the limits of control and prediction, our occasional glimpses of complexity that exceeds our cognitive frameworks, our recognition that despite technological advancement and scientific understanding, we remain vulnerable to forces larger than ourselves. The triangle reminds us that mystery persists not as supernatural intrusion, but as inherent quality of a world more complex than our models of it. Perhaps this is why the triangle maintains its place in imagination, even as specific incidents yield to investigation and explanation. It serves a necessary function in our collective understanding of the world, representing the fluid boundary between the known and the unknown, between the mapped and the still to be explored, between the comprehensible and the not yet comprehended. Like the horizon itself, this boundary is not fixed, but moves as knowledge advances, maintaining the essential tension between mystery and explanation that drives human inquiry. As you drift at the edge of sleep, the narrative itself begins to transform, becoming less a structured examination of historical incidents and scientific theories, More, a meditation on the meaning of mystery in human experience. The triangle's specific details, the coordinates that define its boundaries, the names of vessels lost within them, the dates of particular disappearances, begin to blur and soften, leaving the essential quality that has made this region a persistent presence in global consciousness. Its embodiment of the ocean's dual nature as both knowable physical system and enduring symbol of the unknown. The waters grow very still now, reflecting stars that shine only in imagination as sleep draws ever closer. The triangle story has no conclusion, merely a gradual fading, like lights disappearing over the horizon, like radio signals growing fainter with distance. The mystery remains open, not because evidence is lacking, but because mystery itself serves a purpose, creating space for wonder in a world increasingly subject to measurement and explanation, preserving the tension between knowledge and uncertainty that makes both meaningful. Your journey through the Bermuda Triangle's waters, both literal ocean currents and figurative currents of information, speculation, and cultural meaning, approaches its own horizon. Like sailors of centuries past following stars toward distant shores, you have navigated channels of narrative that wind through fact and legend, through science and imagination, through history and mythology. The destination has never been certainty or final explanation, but rather this moment of transition, this boundary between wakefulness and dream, where different ways of knowing meet and merge. Water surrounds you now, gentle and warm as tropical seas at twilight. Above, stars appear one by one in deepening darkness. The sounds of waves against a distant shore grow fainter as sleep draws near. The triangle's mysteries remain, neither fully explained nor completely mysterious, existing in the productive tension between these states, a tension that has generated centuries of stories, scientific inquiry, cultural representation, and contemplation. As consciousness surrenders to deeper currents of mind, the triangle's enduring questions continue their quiet conversation beneath the surface of thought. What happened to those who disappeared without trace? What combinations of natural forces, human factors, and chance events might explain the inexplicable? How does a geographical region become transformed into cultural symbol, into metaphorical space where the known and unknown meet? These questions need no final answers to serve their purpose, creating the conditions for continued exploration, both external and internal. Sleep arrives now, like morning light, touching distant islands, gradually illuminating shores of dreams where the triangle stories may continue in new forms, where disappearances and discoveries, mysteries and explanations flow together in currents of unconscious imagination. The journey does not end, but transforms, carrying you into depths where different rules apply, where time and space arrange themselves by association rather than linear sequence, where meaning emerges through pattern rather than logical progression. The Bermuda Triangle, a region of ocean defined by human imagination rather than natural boundaries, a collection of incidents selected from thousands of uneventful passages, a cultural construct that has evolved through centuries of human engagement with this particular segment of the Atlantic, continues to exist in that fluid space between geographical reality and symbolic resonance. Neither fully explained nor completely mysterious, it occupies the productive middle ground where science and wonder, knowledge and uncertainty, fact and meaning flow together like currents in the vast Atlantic night. And as you finally surrender to sleep, the triangle's waters grow perfectly still, reflecting stars that shine only in dreams, carrying you gently toward morning's distant shore.